Hey y'all, hey, I'm back with another video. So today is a little bit of a different video. Today I'm talking about, obviously, the queen, right? It's not really a response video. It's more so to me, kind of like just coloring in, like some lines or whatever and filling in some bubbles and some spaces. So this video is in, like I said, kind of talking about the video that FD Signifier just did, where I think it's called Beyonce is Everything. I found FD Signifier through Sean C, who's a YouTuber as well. Sean C is probably the only one of the only like straight black men, and I want to be really specific about that I like actually engage with as far as YouTube content, because a lot of the stuff that's fed to me, at least, is red pill shit. I don't want to hear none of that shit. And then through Sean C, I was able to find FD, so I added him on as a YouTuber, and then I found Lil Bill. I added him. It's nice. Like, I have, for a long time, I didn't really have like a lot of straight black men that were talking about things that like aren't rap or sports or something like that I would be able to watch and like give commentary on things. So like I have a nice little set of people now. Really happy about that. But anyway, again, he just recently did a video called Beyonce's Everything. Now I know that he put up this morning that he had to kind of change things around or whatever because they got him. Let me tell you something. I am in the beehive. That's the first thing I'll say, FD, that you got wrong. And we done pointed it out 1,000 times in the comments. It's not Bayhive. It's the Beehive. Because her name is Beyonce. It's not Beyonce. It's Beyonce. So when people say the Bayhive, normally it's white people that say that. But it's always confusing to the hive as a whole, because when did her name become Beyonce? It's literally Bey-hive, right? Beehive. Beyonce. Anyway, keep going. But as somebody in the beehive, I know good and well one thing Parkwood, and specifically Miss Yvette. If you don't know, Miss Yvette is Beyonce's publicist. One thing Miss Yvette got is eyes on everything. Be clear, Beyonce might not say anything, but her team, Parkwood, they don't play that shit. Miss Yvette do not play those games when it comes to Beyonce. She don't play no type of games. And especially when it comes to YouTube, people may be surprised that Beyonce or her team is very aware of what goes on YouTube, but she really is. I believe for the On the Run tour, I think that's like the first time that she did this, but for the On the Run tour, she actually got a lot of the YouTubers or whatever to like, she like set up this whole thing for a lot of them, especially the black YouTubers that cover her, and like gave them like free tickets to a concert for the On the Run tour. Did this whole big thing for them. For Formation, she during interludes took people from YouTube, clips and stuff, and put it up there. Zach Campbell, my girl Tiff or whatever. So as much as y'all may think that she really do pay attention, and especially on YouTube. That time when she had all of the YouTubers come for On the Run tour, it was Ashley Miller, Kid Fury and Crystal from The Read, the Mallory brothers or whatever, Terrence and Terrell. Like, it was a lot of those people. So I knew good and well that video was gonna be very much so watched. Now, trust me, they gonna go through that whole thing with a fine-tooth comb, and they will snatch your shit. Parkwood and Beyonce don't play that shit at all. But I'm glad that I watched it all the way through. And to be quite honest, I didn't really have a lot of things that I disagreed with. The things that I didn't agree with, FD immediately like gave the side as to why like I didn't agree. So there's not too many things in here again that I would like say I would have to push back on. But I will say, as far as a Beehive member is concerned, I feel like in the rational part of the hive, I feel like one thing with the Beehive is that it's the only common thing that we really have as the Beehive is that we acknowledge who the Queen Bee is. But everything else, it's different tiers. It's different little honeycombs. You got the crazy ones, like, no shade, but like Deron, Jordan, if you know, you got them. And then, you got like Trina and stuff. Like, I feel like on a scale of Kid Rock to like Deron, like I said, as far as like hating her and being obsessed with her, I feel like I feel like I fall a little bit, couple notches under Trina, maybe. Trina the rapper. If y'all know, Trina loves Beyonce. She stands down. So what I will say is, I don't have a problem when people critique Beyonce. I don't have a problem when anybody critiques anybody. We're all human. We're allowed to be critiqued, and art is, subjective to criticism, all that good stuff. I do have a problem sometimes. It depends, is what I'm going to say. So, if the critique is, and people say this all the time, Beyonce can't sing, so we're not even having a conversation. If you say to me, Beyonce can't even sing, then the conversation for me ends. That's not a critique, that's a lie. And it's a fallacy, and it's a falsehood. So we can debate about opinions, but we're not going to debate about facts. And we can debate about preference and what you prefer in a singing style and genre. But to say to me that Beyonce, Giselle Knowles Carter, cannot sing, that's not a critique. It's a fallacy and it's a falsehood. And I don't go back and forth with people about those type of things, right? But if we're talking about, like we do throughout this video, the different ways that, like her imagery and some of her politics, it seems like, versus like the messaging in her music, I'm cool to talk about that all day. Because I think art is for interpretation, right? So, just wanted to set the stage like that. Again, this video is not to combat anything the FD said. It's really more so to, like I said, color in some things that I feel like either A, he wasn't able to delve into. It was already a 2-hour video. If you wanted to do a full thing on Beyonce, we'd be here forever, okay? But I do think there are certain things that are important within his storytelling that I just kind of wanted to give a little bit color to. So the first thing I really want to get into is what he kind of started off with, which is, before Beyonce becomes a soloist, he briefly touches, on the career or whatever with Destiny's Child. And so a few things that I just kind of wanted to kind of put in there is, I think today in 2025, most people see Beyonce as like a media darling kind of, and everybody just loves Beyonce. I mean, you either really hate her or you really love her, but most people really love Beyonce and she's just this media darling. But I want to be very clear that she had to earn that. Like, she literally had to work her ass off to earn that, because even when she was in Destiny's Child, I don't think a lot of people probably aren't old enough to even remember this, but there was a long time where people hated Beyonce. Like, Beyonce was thoroughly hated in like the late 90s, early 2000s. It was not good for her. People could not stand her. Number one, based off of kind of the whole split with Destiny's Child, the fact that Matthew was her daddy, and it seemed like from the outside that she got more preference than the other girls. The comparisons between her and Leah, both before she passed and after she passed. Even small shit like, I believe this rumor came from Nas's baby mama, Cameron. I think Cameron wrote like a book about Nas, and in that book, she said that Nas had told her that he met Beyonce and that her breath didn't smell good. So that went away that was a thing for a long time. Like, be clear, Beyonce was not always like the media darling. People hated her. Like FD pointed out, people thought that in her interview she was too country. They thought that she was dumb. People still say that they think that Beyonce is dumb because in the way that she speaks. I think that Beyonce speaks very intentionally because she knows that the words that come out of her mouth are very powerful and people are going to twist it and use it. So I do think that her media training and stuff like that from Matthew and back in the day plays a lot into that. But I just wanted to set that part right. Beyonce was not always beloved. Be very clear. Destiny's Child, huge, right? But be clear, it's not like she was like the most loved person in the world, right? Secondly, before Beyonce actually came out with Dangerously in Love, which is her first album, couple of things around that time frame. Now, I know that it was funny, but they on the FD Signifier video, they started to like list down the people, it was like a scrolling list of people that FD says like Beyonce kind of like knocked out of the game or whatever, and they didn't really have much of a choice. Hilarious on the Carrie Hilston, that's hilarious. But anyway, I want to be clear though it's funny, but to be clear, that's not true for everybody. So let's start off for a second with Kelly Rowland, right? Kelly Rowland, I just wanted to be her so badly. Like, be clear, like, I love Beyonce down, but who I love probably more than Beyonce or on the same level is Kelly Rowland. Because best to believe, when I was a child, I wanted to be Kelly, not Beyonce. I wanted to be that bitch. Beautiful, just all these things, could sing her ass off, all this other thing, right? Kelly when they first all decided to go solo, was actually the first one out the gate. Most people don't remember that Kelly is the first one with a #1 single. She's the first one with a #1 album. She's the first one with some hits on Billboard by herself. So Dilemma obviously comes out. #1 song, obviously now a classic and a staple, in the world. But be very clear, before Beyonce came out, Kelly was that girl and was holding it down. And it was kind of like shocking to some people, but she had very big success. And I don't want to shit on Kelly to say the rest of her career wasn't nearly as good, because one thing that people won't give Calandria, let me tell you something about Calandria. Over here in the States, I don't feel like people outside of Destiny's Child really give Kelly her flowers. Be clear. When that beautiful chocolate Barbie takes her ass across the pond, when she goes outside of the US, no Destiny's Child, Kelly Rowland is that girl. Kelly Rowland has a few international hits. Just because we don't give her the flowers the way that she deserves solo here, don't mean that she's a slouch. Anyway, she's not. So I just want to be clear about that, because I hate the whole idea of Beyonce and the girls. I hate that. It irks me. And then secondly, a name that I saw scrolling down there that shouldn't have been scrolling down there is Ashanti. And the reason why I'm going to say that is, yes, long term, obviously, Beyonce, did whatever she did compared to Ashanti. But be very clear, when Beyonce had first started her solo career, Ashanti was that girl. I know there's that viral article or whatever, I can't remember who wrote it, but saying that like Beyonce will never be Ashanti, because that was the thing at the time. You have to remember, around that time, Ashanti, the whole Murder Inc. Cam, Always on Time, Memorize, Bitch Wonderful, even though I know that was towards the end, but all of that foolishness, Baby, What's Love or whatever with Fat Joe and her. It was so many things. Ashanti in the early 2000s really was that girl, even bigger than Beyonce. That is a fact. So I don't like, so let's not slight Ashanti, because Ashanti really was the person that people thought was really going to be the person carrying it into the future. And then Beyonce just boom, boom, boom. That's what happened. But I don't like that. Let's not do my girl. Let's not do Sean like that. She held it down for a long time. Okay. So that's pretty much that, right? So now that we kind of have colored in some of the things as far as her background is concerned, let's kind of move into some of the albums, right? So I know with FD, he started with I Am Sasha Fierce, right? But again, I want everybody to remember, I Am Sasha Fierce is Beyonce's third solo album. So you have Dangerously in Love, which is, I believe, like 2003, 4-ish. Then you have B-Day, which is 2006, 2007-ish. And no, 2005, 6-ish, somewhere around there. And then you got I Am Sasha Fierce, which is like 07, 08, 09, somewhere around there. But all I have to say is that is her third album. Now, Dangerously in Love, her very first album, was from the executive side. They really didn't want to put a lot of money into her. As FD explained, a lot of times when people leave groups and they try to break out and do their own thing, a lot of times it doesn't work. The few times that it has worked, which is crazy because it was pretty much the exact time frame, was Beyonce and Justin Timberlake. And it's weird, and I think maybe this is why like they work together a lot, but it's really weird because they both went solo pretty much around the same time and left their group around the same time. NSYNC, maybe I want to say about like 02, 03 is over, and the same thing with Destiny's Child, although we'll talk about how they got back together a little bit later. But those are like the anomalies, to be quite honest. So they didn't really have a lot of faith. Beyonce ends up having like 4 top 10 hits: Crazy in Love, Baby Boy, Naughty Girl, and I think Dangerously in Love, right? So that is really like, oh my gosh, all right, this bitch is here. This bitch is here, right? Crazy in Love becomes a big thing, right? Then we move on to B-Day, right? Now, to be fair, B-Day had hits, but maybe not to the extent that her first album, Dangerously in Love. Now, you still had things like Get Me Bodied and Upgrade You, but those were hits, especially Get Me Bodied, but maybe not to the way that the first album was, right? So then going into I Am Sasha Fierce, right, the label and everybody, they're looking for an uptick again. Not to say that B-Day was a downtick, because to be clear, up until a lot of people's favorite Beyonce album is B-Day. Like, to this day, a lot of people, that's their favorite album. It's a great album. It's, as we call it in the Hive, Beyonce's loudest album. She's screaming at the top of her lungs. But it's all good screaming. All very good screaming, right? So going into I Am Sasha Fierce, which is what FD digged into, he went through all, the single ladies and the impact of that. So I'm not going to go through that. We know what singles ladies did, but outside of single ladies, we have If I Were a Boy, we have Diva, we have Ego. Okay, these are the songs that we have that are pretty much known as like staples now, really, in Beyonce's music. So I Am Sasha Fierce. This is the crazy part about it, right? I Am Sasha Fierce commercially at that time was probably, I think maybe even to this day, is like Beyonce's biggest peak commercially, right? But if you talk to most Beyonce fans, normally I Am Sasha Fierce is going to be at the bottom of their list when it comes to ranking her albums. And that being because of the fact that it was so commercial, it was so pop. Oh, so Sweet Dreams is also on that. So that's that whole era, which, again, all of those songs are bops. So my favorite songs off of I Am Sasha Fierce is Diva and Sweet Dreams, right? Everything else I could take. Oh, Halo is also on I Am Sasha Fierce. You get what I'm saying? So it's that era, that sound of Beyonce, the very poppy pop. We're also in the middle of, kind of like FD talked about a little bit of the pop feminism wave. So we got Gaga, we got Katy. Like, this is when pop in the mid 2000s was like really shaking. Kesha comes out around that time. It was a lot going on, right? So, like I said, I Am Sasha Fierce. FD talks about why that's so important, right? But what I really wanted to color in here is he went from I Am Sasha Fierce to the self-titled album, right? I think we need to spend a little bit of time talking about 4 and the importance of that album after I Am Sasha Fierce and then leading into self-titled. Okay, so now we move into 4. And the reason I wanted to talk about 4, I know FD was unable to get to it, but I really think that talking about the era of 4 and everything that happened around it and coming off of I Am Sasha Fierce and then going into 4 and then leading into self-titled, I think a lot of things that happened around that time frame is really important to kind of give, like I said, a little bit color to some of the things that FD was talking about, right? So I Am Sasha Fierce, obviously, single ladies, Diva, Ego, Halo, all that good stuff, right? So then we move on to 4, right? So 4 is around the time that number 1, actually before we even get to 4, let's back up for a second, right? In between I Am Sasha Fierce and 4, one of the most important things that happens during that time is the infamous Kanye West coming on stage for Taylor Swift situation, right? And so if most people don't remember, so that's the 2009 VMAs, and the reason being that Kanye hopped up on that stage is because Taylor Swift won Best Female Video of the Year for You Belong With Me when Beyonce's Single Ladies was also within that category. And as FD said, explained the significance of Single Ladies. You Belong With Me, cute song, cute bop, one of the few songs actually liked by Taylor Swift. However, that video and the concept of that, of the geeky girl and then the same person playing the cool girl and trying to find a guy, like, that's a concept, video-wise, that's been done forever. We can take all the way back to Heartbreaker, you got the best of me, but I just keep on coming back incessant. Like that whole Mariah Carey video. Nobody was doing what Beyonce was doing. So in our reality, was Kanye wrong in the way he handled it? Yes. But was he wrong in his sentiments? Absolutely the fuck not. Absolutely the fuck not. But anyway, so a lot of that, yes, Kanye got a lot of backlash for that. But Beyonce had to deal with a lot of kind of subsidiary backlash because it happened in the name of her, right? So she's cleaning all of that up, right? Then, like I said, when we get into 4, for most people in the Beehive, if you ask, it's either their favorite Beyonce album or their second favorite Beyonce album. It's a flawless fucking album. For me, it was 4 until Renaissance came out. Now it's Renaissance 4 and I don't care about anything else. But 4 is Party, Dance for You, 1+1, Love on Top, I Care, Rather Die Young. These are the songs that's coming off of that. And if you compare all of those songs that I listed compared to Sweet Dreams, Halo, Ego, you see sonically there's a really big difference, right? I Am Sasha Fierce, very more pop heavy versus 4, which is more rooted in R&B, similar to her very first album, Dangerously in Love. Now, commercially, that album didn't do as well as I Am Sasha Fierce. Again, within the Hive, most people won't tell you that's their favorite Beyonce album. It's so good. She does some of her best damn singing on that album. The freaking studio recording version or live version when they watch her record I Care is too much. It's too much. It's too much. But anyway, so again, also as FD talked about, this is around the time that she's separating from her father, right? So the reason I wanted to talk about 4 is because it also kind of ties a little bit into the pop feminism thing that FD was talking about, right? So a few other things that happened before self-titled drop, right? Number 1, we have the 2013 Super Bowl that she performs at, right? And this actually kind of ties into Flawless a little bit. So just real sad, quick story, right? Because I know FD brought up Flawless. Real quick side story. 2013, Beyonce does the Super Bowl at the top of the year, which is like around February, right? When Beyonce was performing, Keisha Cole actually went on Twitter around this time and pretty much like threw shade at Michelle and was like, oh, like Beyonce and Kelly looks great, but pretty much like Michelle looks a mess. A couple weeks later, Beyonce drops the track Bow Down. Now, most people that know the song Flawless know that Bow Down, hear Bow Down in the beginning, bow down, bitches, and then it switches over to Flawless. But for those that don't know, Bow Down was its own song separately on its own before she decided to combine it with Flawless. And the reason she decided to combine it with Flawless is because it's just a dichotomy. She said Bow Down came from her not being in one of those moods. She woke up and she just felt like, all those people that be talking about her and the bitches that be having so much to say, she felt like telling them bitches bow down. But then other days she feel like, bitch, we women and we all in it, which is real shit. So that's why she decided long run to put the 2 songs together. But Bow Down initially had nothing to do with Flawless. It had nothing to do with what it ended up turning into. It was its own solid track. Most of us believe to say, fuck you, Keisha Cole. It was mostly a defense for Michelle. So even in her cursing you bitches out, it was still in defense of a woman. God bless, okay? So anyway, we move on, right? The album drops. Like I said, I think FD did a fantastic job at explaining all of the reasons why that album is super, super iconic for a lot of different reasons, right? But I also want to talk about leading into self-titled. Beyonce also revealed and had her baby. Very, 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 very famous VMA performance when Beyonce shows that she's pregnant. She has Blue. We'll be here all day if we get into everything that happened around her pregnancy. People saying that she faked her pregnancy. We'll be here all day. We'll be here all day. But the reason I bring all of that up is to say, FD talked about the whole feminism part of like the portrayal of Beyonce and the way that she kind of positions herself, and especially around that time frame with Lady Gaga and Katy Perry and all these different pop girls and trying to get on what he calls like the pop feminism phase of the mid 2000s, right? But one of the things I really wanted to kind of talk about and highlight from that standpoint is some of the reasons to me why women in general, specifically Black women, but women in general really kind of clamor to Beyonce, especially like my age group. Like I'm a younger millennial, right? Because I was born in 94. So I'm technically a millennial, but I'm like, I'm a zillennial as they call it, right? So especially for like our age group, I want to talk about this. I feel as if, yes, Beyonce past maybe like self-titled and stuff started to lean a little bit more into like, I guess what you would call like her politic. But I want to say this. These are the reasons why I feel like not necessarily that Beyonce placed herself in that position of like, oh, I'm a feminist. And yes, I know she has that little excerpt in her Flawless song, but I want to talk about why I really think that it hits for women. Okay. We've seen this girl grow up, right? We've seen all of the different ups and downs that she had to go to. But I think what really solidified it was around this self-titled album. Like I said, was that VMA's performance and everything that came after it as far as her revealing her pregnancy. Now, prior to Beyonce, like now it's not a big deal if a woman has a baby and she can go about her day. It's not a big deal. But prior to that, prior to around Beyonce's time, around that VMAs and backwards, and even now it's still a little bit of a problem, having a child, period. Honestly, being a woman and having a career and having a child, there's decisions and things that you're gonna have to make hard decisions and give up certain things, and that's unfortunate. Shouldn't have to, but that's just how it is, right? And especially in the entertainment industry, having a kid could pretty much destroy your career from a lot of different perspectives. From, a lot of times people felt like the artist or the woman wouldn't be as attractive to people anymore. The fact that there are certain like normatives that are put on like how a mother should behave and how she shouldn't behave. And even just the time that you want to give to your kid versus the time that you have to put into your career, right? I'll bring up Brandy for an example, right? Brandy to me is a great example of that. Brandy had to hide her pregnancy, literally had to lie about the fact that she was pregnant because she got pregnant, she wasn't married or whatever when she got pregnant. And Brandy was Cinderella. Okay, she was Cinderella. So for Cinderella to be unwed and pregnant, what the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? So just to like give context as to like why that was like, it could literally destroy your entire career. Even if we go to Escape, what's my girl? Not Latasha, the other sister. Tamika, there we go. Tamika talks about, how she was pregnant and how that was a big deal and how they really wanted to, like the executives wanted her out of the group. Like it's a big thing, right? So when we have the VMAs and Beyonce comes out and she's pregnant, it's like, hold on for a second. Because then when you start to rewind the tape a little bit and you think about everything that bitch been doing up to that point, that bitch was pregnant the whole time. Roseland, pregnant. AMAs, pregnant. Going from here to here, pregnant. That, again, like I said, that's not the first time that's ever happened. But I'm saying for like someone around my age bracket and like to be able to see, like I said, not just that, but everything that came from that and why self-titled is so important is because what Beyonce was actually able to represent a little bit is the fact that as women, you kind of can have it all. Why do you have to choose between having a family and having a career? Why do you have to choose between being a good wife and being excellent within your career or being a good mother? Like, why can't you do all of those things together? And to me, that VMA performance, self-titled, a lot, I think that era is what put her in that, I guess, feminism kind of like aura. And that wasn't really just based off of the things that she said. It's the way that she moved. It's the way mostly that she moved. And then if we actually go into self-titled and a lot of the things that she's talking about, Beyonce also made it a thing that 30 is not fucking old. I know that her husband said 30 is the new 20, nigga, I'm still high still. But I want to be very clear. Beyonce was very adamant in talking about in the production of self-titled that she wanted to emphasize that she's a mama now, okay? And she's 30 and she's a grown woman. She could do whatever she wants. And even with all of those things being said, she's still that girl. Because a lot of times, as y'all know, the industry is very ageist. And normally, once the girls hit like closer to 30, they start to phase you out. And Beyonce said, oh, no. I'm actually about to start hitting my stride. And the fact that she did, the fact that it's like, for me, I break Beyonce's career up into two ways. It's like, everything before self-titled and then self-titled going forward. Those are two separate careers. And I don't want to say separate people, but like it's wild the difference. Matthew could have never got Beyonce to where she is. There's no way. Because he wouldn't have allowed her to do the things that she needed to do to get there. It's wild work. But I wanted to talk about, that's really why I feel like Beyonce was put in that feminism kind of lens. It wasn't necessarily just her music. Yes, it was some of the things that she was saying in her music, but I think it was just her overallness of, again, like I said, kind of showing like a lot of women my age that you don't have to sacrifice one or the other. And she has been very honest throughout her career since then about, trying to be a good wife. Still really hard, I can't lie. But I promise you I will fight. So I fight. Like, she's very honest about those things. But that's why I feel like she has that view of feminism around him. I don't think it's because of maybe that self-titled album itself and the things that she said. I think it's more so the representative of, at least to my generation, what it looked like. Oh, I want to be Beyonce, meaning Beyonce has it all. She's fine as hell. She can dance. She can sing. She has a husband. She has a fucking family. She's a boss bitch. Like, and the fact that we see somebody and a black woman on top of all of that, she could be all of that. Then bitch, why can't I be all of that? And then obviously we know she's very empowering with women and things like that. So I just wanted to touch on that part about the whole feminism. I think that's why she was put in that light. I think the self, not just the album, but I think everything leading up to that point. It was just all a combination of what we end up getting. And also from a music side, I want to say that self-titled was a risk because again, Ford did not perform the way they expected it to. The record label did commercially. So going into Beyonce, be very clear. If Beyonce, the self-titled album flopped, we would not even be talking right now. I don't even know where Beyonce would be. I have no idea because what would happen is that the support would be drawn back. The labels wouldn't give us, but she would literally have to it would be different, very different. So know that self-titled was a risk. It's not like she was on the highest of highs when she went into that album. She was not. That album really was the one that like FD said, that made her Beyonce. Like she was already Beyonce, but that really solidified her name as she's that girl. And then, we start to talk a little bit, he starts to talk a little bit, about the fact that, her albums past Beyonce tend to reflect the times a little bit. I would agree, but also disagree at the same time. Because one thing that maybe FD didn't know, or most people don't know, is that Cowboy Carter was actually supposed to come out first. Cowboy Carter was supposed to be Act 1, then it was supposed to be Renaissance, and it was supposed to be whatever the third act is. The reason that Beyonce didn't put out Renaissance when she did is because of the fact that we were coming off of COVID. And she didn't want us to go from being in a very serious time to a very serious album like Cowboy Carter. That's why she switched it and put Renaissance first, because Renaissance is more of an uplifting. So it is reflective of its times in that sense, but it's not at the same time, like at least those two albums. But I do get what he's saying. To a degree, he's absolutely right. It was a reflection of the time. And I think that self-titled does kind of speak to that. It speaks to, I think, more specifically, if we really want to get into it, talking about like a lot of sexual liberation and that, bitch, just because I'm a mama, because she said a lot of things. But it also, big theme was, baby, just because I'm a mama, that don't mean that I can't twerk and I can't pop this in a handstand. Because driver, roll up the partition, please. I don't need you seeing Beyonce on her knees, okay? So all that being said, and I can still be this too, right? But to be quite honest, self-titled going forward, all of these albums have had controversy. And the reason I don't know much about the Cowboy Carter stuff until like FD explained it is because I have actively avoided it, simply because I've been a Beyonce fan for so long that I know every time she drops an album, there's going to be something piece part of Twitter or TikTok that's going to dissect things and do the absolute most and try to make it so that the rest of us can't enjoy what the fuck we're listening to. So a long time ago, I decided I am just going to enjoy the album. I don't give a fuck what the rest of y'all got to say. I like the album or I don't like the album. It's just really that simple. Let's just go through real fast a couple of controversies around her last couple albums. If we start with Beyonce, like I said, the biggest controversy around that was the whole Beyonce prior to self-titled was not nearly as sexually explicit. Matthew Knowles was not having any of that shit. It was very squeaky clean. Like I said, kind of similar to Brandy, very squeaky clean image. Beyonce self-titled going forward, she ain't give a fuck about none of that. She was going curse. If you really go before self-titled, Beyonce didn't even really curse like that. She didn't curse like that. She also did way more interviews prior to that. But going forward, what she said is, y'all gonna get this work. Y'all gonna get this work and that's it. Because when I try to be front facing and I've tried to talk to y'all call me dumb, as FD said. Y'all say that I'm too country. Y'all say I don't know what to talk about. Y'all say that I'm a liar. So guess what? Y'all gonna get this work through the art and that's it. And that's it. Okay? So, again, self-titled was criticized and she was dragged all up and down because she was too sexual on that album. Then if we move on to Lemonade, she got dragged up and down by both black people and white people because it was too bleedy black. Then if we go to Black is King, she was dragged because the content, a lot of people from Africa felt like, who the fuck is she? She don't even know what she's doing. Then if we move on to Renaissance, people felt like it was too gay and it was too dance room bally. And now if we move on here, now she's happy to be American. Like I can literally, every time she drops an album, there is something that somebody is upset about. And like I said, I pulled out of that a long time ago. Say whatever the hell is that y'all want to say. I don't really give a fuck. Now, when he gets into his bad Beyonce part, right? The Khalees situation, when FD first started to talk about it, I was like, yeah, this is where I'm gonna have to get him. But he ended up, like, I don't say cleaned up, but he explained it at the end. The point of the matter is, the way that I look at the Khalees situation, like FD said, is that is not on Beyonce. Beyonce paid for something and she gave the money. Now, what would have possibly been fucked up is if she said, I don't give a fuck, and just kept the oohs and ahs on there. Anyway, she did not. She took it off. And I know some people was like, oh, well, she still could have, I don't know, got her to do this and got her to do that. I think a lot of y'all are also assuming that Beyonce has a good relationship with Khalees. If you guys don't know, Khalees and Nas, who were married, did not end in the best way. Very nasty ass divorce. Khalees accused Nas of being putting his hands on her. And Jay-Z, Beyonce, and Nas actually have a very close relationship. So I don't think it's as clean as y'all say. And also, Khalees was the one who brought up that started bringing shit up like that had nothing to do with the music. So to me, that's another reason why Beyonce didn't do it, because girl, I actually did you a favor by taking you off, because that ain't got nothing to do with me. But then you want to start talking about Nas and stuff, but so let's talk about it. So I don't think it's as easy as people were saying. I think the way she handled it was the best way. Now, when people say, why didn't she come out and say anything? The reason I don't got a problem with that is because she don't say shit about nothing. And I know that bothers people, but because I've been a fan of her for a long time, I know why. Regardless of what she does, it's never gonna play well with anybody. She's always gonna be the bad guy to somebody. So what she's learned from the first 15 damn years of her career is there is no pleasing everybody. So what I'm gonna do is say nothing. Now you niggas get nothing. And I'm not mad at that. So yes, I would think it's weird for her to speak up in the Khalees situation, because she'll never speak up about shit else. She never speaks up about anything else. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just take the oohs and ahs off of there so that I'm not profiting off of your work. And that still wasn't enough for people. It's still, like I said, regardless of what she did, it would never be enough, right? So then we go, like I said, we talk about how people feel like her politics and her music don't necessarily line. This is my biggest problem with Beyonce. My biggest problem with Beyonce, number one, is her husband. And that's most of the women that I like. It's your husband. Your husband is trash as far as I'm concerned right now. I'm tired. If anybody politics and music and stuff is just so out of touch, it's his. So my biggest critique is like, girl, do you believe the shit that come out his mouth? Because he be talking about capitalism was something that they came up for recently for black people that got money. Is that where you stand to? Is that where you stand? Like, I guess my confusion is, what do you align with the shit that comes out of your husband's mouth? That's, I guess, is partially my problem with her. Another little bit of an issue that I have, which kind of contradicts what I said about women being able to have it all. But one of the main things that people, even the hive, will say about Beyonce is she is a pick-me. Like, love her down. Love my bitch down. But she do have pick-me energy sometimes. She does. I know, granted, this is not just her, but like, even if we bring it back to Destiny's Child with Cater to You, it's that whole little challenge of, girl, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing these. Like, this can't be the men that Destiny's Child was talking about catering to. Ain't no way in God's green earth. So I feel like sometimes she do have strong pick-me energy, and I don't necessarily like that all the time. What else do I feel? I do feel, like I said, I can agree sometimes that I feel like maybe her imagery, I say sometimes doesn't necessarily connect with maybe the way we see her moving. But I also, like plenty of people said, feel like she gets way more scrutiny on that than any of the fucking men do, including her fucking husband. And one thing I will give FD, I'll give him all the kudos, but one thing I'm so glad that FD brought up is the Kendrick thing. Y'all be literally letting Kendrick get away with whatever and never say nothing. And this is not to go on a Kendrick rant, but my biggest problem with Kendrick, as I've been saying forever, is what he says and does. I guess is what, like FD was saying, what his problem with Beyonce is that he feels like what they say in their art and their music versus what they do don't add up. I feel like that is even more to me applicable to Kendrick, because Beyonce did not build her career off of that. Beyonce did not build her career off of, oh, I'm blackly black and I'm a feminist. No. She didn't even feel comfortable in stepping into her own politic until she was hardly, very established in this game. Very established. She didn't start any of that shit until 15 to 16 years into her career. To me, Kendrick started his career that way and has sustained his career off of I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, but also not aligning his politics in the way that he moves. That's my biggest problem with him. Yes, I feel like Beyonce does have certain imagery and things like that that don't necessarily always line up, but I don't feel like she's made her career off of that. And that's kind of what bothers me when people kind of like say that about her, like, oh, well, she's doing that because that's just the thing to do. Beyonce don't need to do any of that. What the fuck are we talking about? She doesn't need to do any of that at all. But like I said, I can get how sometimes some of the things that people see, that she does, like, okay, I don't necessarily agree with the point about, oh, she shouldn't have wore the Black Panthers thing or whatever. But I understand the idea of, I told you, I have a problem with anybody that's performing for the NFL as a black person. I think it's stupid. It don't make no fucking sense to me. So from that perspective, it don't make no sense to me at all. I get you're trying to be a revolutionary within the space that you're in, and I think that does at times have like a validity to it. But I also think the real validity is to just not go. Just not go. I also want to say though, what we didn't talk about that Black Panther thing is how the people were so pissed at the formation video. So like, let's talk about that for a quick second, because it's not like she just popped up and was like, oh, I'm just gonna be Black Panther. That's not what happened. Those people were pissed about Lemonade, and specifically was pissed about, because Lemonade comes out after, was pissed about formation. They did not like the fact that she sunk a cop car. Those people were pissed, so much to the point where white people were saying that they were gonna come to the freaking Super Bowl and come to the game and try to do harmful things to her. So it's not like she just popped up one day and said, yeah, I'm gonna do this black thing. There was things that happened that led up to that. But I digress. But I'm saying I understand that, because to me, why are you even performing there, period? I didn't agree when Jay-Z signed the whole thing. I don't agree with no person that fucking touches that damn field. Nobody. Beyonce, nobody. I don't like it. It bothers me. Y'all know what the fuck they did. Y'all know what they continue to do as NFL and what they perpetuate. And y'all still get y'all black asses up there and allow them to commodify and to make money off of y'all. That shit pisses me off. So I'm with you on that one. Let's move on to Cowboy Carter. So with Cowboy Carter, there was a few things that came out of this before the performance even happened on Christmas, right? When this album is the first album in a really long time that Beyonce actually promoted. Beyonce, for the first time since Self-Titled, did regular ass rollout promotion for this. She gave us a date, which she hasn't done since December, since 4. She's never given us a date on when the album was going to drop. She gave us a damn date. She gave us 2 singles. Like, what? Like, she went back to traditional ways for this album. And a lot of people, before the album even came out, did not like the idea of her doing a country album. The whites were upset about that. And then some black people felt like, why are you trying to claim the American flag given everything that's going on? And again, I get what FD is saying, but about the timing, but the timing is just unfortunate, because as I said, it's not like she dropped this album knowing what the hell was going to go on in 2006 and 25. Cowboy Carter was supposed to drop when Renaissance dropped. So realistically, what was supposed to drop right now was Renaissance. And I think the only type of albums that she could have dropped and not been dragged is Renaissance twice. Because coming off of the COVID, if you get too serious, people are not going to like that. So we needed fun. But now that we're still in a very serious ass time, people don't like the imagery. It's like, I feel like she was going to be fucked either way. Either way, she was going to be fucked. So that's like my pushback on the whole, I don't get the whole timing thing. It wasn't really supposed to play out this way. It's just how everything happened, right? So the Christmas thing comes. Let me tell you, this is how I know y'all really just won't enjoy shit. I was literally in my living room screaming at the top of my lungs. That's how excited I was about this damn thing. It was so damn good. I was just so excited. I didn't give a fuck about nothing. She killed it because I was really interested in how the album was going to be performed. Now, to be clear, Cowboy Carter is not my favorite album, but it damn sure is from the bottom of her fucking discography. Be very clear. Do I play Renaissance more? Yes. But do I like Cowboy Carter as a daughter? Is a flawless child. There's daughter, hands to heaven, tyrant. Bitch, 16 carriages. There's nothing you can tell me about those songs. And when I go to her concert, July 7th, I'm going to be there. I'm locked the fuck in. But again, I understand that if country's not really your thing, then, you know, it might not be like the best album for you. But I am not going to sit here and go through all of the breakdowns of Cowboy Carter. I did a 45-minute video. If you would like to see my breakdown of Cowboy Carter, the different themes and a lot of things that she talked about in that album, you can go back and look at that. I will highlight a few things, right? So let's start off with the whole idea of, oh, you know, she's like the performance was very Americana, and her saying that she's happy to be an American and nobody should be happy to be an American given everything that's going on, and we're black, so we shouldn't even. Okay. This is how I feel. I feel like at the end of the day, there is no right or wrong answer to that. I just feel like it's all on how you perceive it, right? So some of the things that FD said, I heard him and I'm hearing what he's saying, but again, like that person that he brought up later who talked about, you know, the way that people from the South, Southern blacks kind of identify with like America and the American flag and things like that is much different than the rest of us. That's number one. Number two, throughout that performance, when people say, oh, there's nothing that's like, what the FD say? He said, because this is what he said, that without, I guess, really knowing like everything and just looking at it from face value, then yeah, people could see, like people can take this message away from it and it's not being very clear. But this is my whole thing personally, right? The same way that the girl who did the TikTok who said, I didn't mean like propaganda in a bad way. Like it doesn't mean it that way. This is what I mean. The same way she would like grace like on that and the fact that people took it the wrong way. I look at it the same way with the performance. If you decided, and this is what I'm saying, if you decided to do a whole deep dive kind of without actually like studying what you're looking at personally, I don't necessarily want to hear it, especially from a music perspective. If all you're doing is looking from the front facing, but have such a, to me, like deep critical analysis of what you're seeing, I don't want to hear it. And that's just me. Because for me, if I'm going to critique something, that means I'm going to look all the way into it, not just on face value is what I'm saying. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not just on face value. I'm not doing that personally. And again, if you are able to sit around and break down, this is what, this is da 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 da, then I feel like you should also take the same time to kind of do some research and to look as to, well, why was it this way? Why was it like that? Why was it like this? That's just me. If you're going to be a critiquer of something, you need to be kind of looking into stuff and not just on the face value, which is the same reason why that girl got dragged on TikTok. Because instead of, like she said, people actually listening and deciphering and taking in what she's saying, you just took what she said on surface value and y'all ran with that in the comments. Well, that's what you're doing with the performance. You're looking at it on face value and then digging and giving all of these things. Now, I didn't necessarily disagree with what the girl said about her being a propagandist. I'm not necessarily mad about that, but I'm just saying the idea of looking at something on the surface and not really doing your critical research and analysis. And that's the problem with today. Nobody takes the time. As a Beyonce fan, as somebody who consumes Beyonce, I never, and this is a lesson, sorry, to everybody who consumes Beyonce. This is a lesson to y'all. Never take anything that Beyonce does as surface value. It's always deeper. Every fucking thing is intentional. From the fact that if you go back and watch the Beyonce Bowl, as she's walking down the hallway, there's an American flag that's hanging up on the side. But you want to know what? It's covered by plastic. It's covered. It's not just out there. certain things that she did with the flag that white people would say you're desecrating the flag. There's a lot of different things. The idea of all of the black girls being there and us singing black birds, like we can really get into the depthness of it all. And the reason why I got annoyed and I didn't even engage in the whole Cowboy Carter performance thing is because I'm like, these are people that, as FD said, is just taking it on face value. Y'all didn't really, honestly, even without taking it on face value, if you just pay your fucking attention to what you're looking at, just a little bit, you can obviously tell that there are little details here and there. A lot of that shit you're gonna have to go look up. But to me personally, just looking at something, and I feel like even just looking at that without being too deeply, like, you know, ingrained in what Beyonce got going on, I think if you just paid attention just a little bit, you can see that there was symbolism everywhere, and not just black faces, but that's just how I consumed it, okay? Again, like I said, brought up the whole K-Dot thing. He talked about people being biracial and how that plays into everything. I will never sit up here and say that Beyonce being light-skinned has nothing to do with her being where she is. It absolutely does. Is that the only thing? No. It's the one of very many reasons. But remember that the top reason is because she's that bitch. She's talented as fuck. Like, she's really her mind. No one else in this world can think like moi. Like, it's insane. I'm twisted. I'll contradict it. Bitch, nobody got that bitch's mind. But I'm saying all that to say is that I don't think that Beyonce is above critique. My problem with a lot of the people that do critique Beyonce as deeply as they do is I feel as if there is more depth put into their critique of her and not enough depth put into actually taking a deeper look into what she's doing. I think so. For example, I think people will look at a 5-minute video of the Beyonce Bowl and then do a 20-minute or 30-minute video on what they saw, but not do 20 to 30 minutes to try to really deeply look into what her purpose was. And that's my problem with a lot of people. If you're going to go so deeply into critiquing her, then we need to also deeply digest her art and really look at what she was trying to say. But I don't feel like a lot of times with Beyonce that happens. I think people see a pretty girl with blonde flowing hair and, oh, she's just trying to co-opt this and co-opt that and do no research and just go, as FD said, off of the surface and never try to dig a little bit deeper to see what it is. Like I said, I did a whole 45-minute video on Cowboy Carter and everything, all of the messages that she was trying to say in that. And if you actually listen to that, then it really does align with her fucking performance across the board. It aligns. It aligns. It really does. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I had. Like I said, the whole American thing, again, I feel like that's how you take that. I am not with the people that are super like radical on the whole American descendants of chattel slavery. I'm not like on the radical side of that, but I'm sorry. I do agree that Black Americans, we do have a specific culture. Yes, obviously it borrows from where we're from, but there are things that are inherently American Black and American Black Southern things at the same time. As somebody said before, all of those things kind of connect. So I'm not necessarily mad with some people who feel like, no, y'all want us to say that we're not American because y'all tie that to something negative. But to be very honest, and a lot of people say this, like Black people and Indian and Native Americans, we really are like the actual true Americans, like very and truly. And just because some people look at it like, just because like white Americans like have their own nasty history with it, that doesn't necessarily mean, and that is tied to us, that doesn't necessarily mean that we are saying that yes, we're proud of all the shit that comes with that. No, we're proud of what our people did when they were dropped off in this bitch, not in Brazil, not in this place and over here in Europe. We're talking about, we are specifically proud of what our motherfuckers did when they got off the boat here. And the culture and everything that Black people that were born here in America, what we had to do, what our people had to do, the struggles, everything they had to overcome, and what they've built. So much to the point to where when you go outside of America, people talk like Black Americans. As FD said, Black American culture is really the number one exported thing from the US. So I personally didn't see anything wrong with, a lot of beyond of what she's trying to do with these 3 acts is a lot of it is kind of trying to reclaim certain things and trying to put a light on. No, bitch. So Renaissance is house music. No, bitch. LGBT community, specifically the Black and brown LGBT community, shout out to Paris is Burning, is really the reasons why y'all do all of this slay and all of these words, okay? That community came up with, and it was black ass people that did that, okay? Boom, act 1. Act 2 is, bitch, y'all thought that y'all own country and that y'all started it. Y'all did not. Guess what that was? That was Southern American Black people that did that shit. And y'all try to push us out of the framing, especially when it comes to the South, that Black people ain't here, that all Black people just left and went to the North and there ain't nobody here, or the people that's here are dumb and slow and don't have culture and don't do this and don't do that, when we do. And most people predict that the Rock album is going to be next. But it's just like, again, my girl she's definitely clockable in a lot of things. She's definitely able to be critiqued on a lot of things. But again, as much as you want to critique her, do the depth. Like FD did. Do a 2-hour video. Okay? Do a 2-hour video and then let's have a conversation. Let's have a conversation after that. But that's it, y'all. That's really it. Y'all gonna comments. Tell me what you think. I'm gonna drop the link to FD Signifier's video in the description. Bye.